Welcome to A Rare Reality, a podcast powered by Jordan's Guardian Angels. I'm Christina Janes, Director of Outreach and Content Development for JGA, and I am joined by a familiar face of ours, our Executive Director, Carol Backhouse, and our very special guest today, Dr. Carla Friedli, who we are so happy to have you here today, Carla, and talk through some very special topics that you're close to your heart in helping to navigate life's journeys, which seems broad, but we can really drill down to what this means for our families. And we're thrilled to be having these conversations with you today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Well, the other night I was really lucky to be at a little event and I met Carol, and I think it was like a meeting of hearts right away. And so the opportunity to be with your community is just really humbling to me. I feel like it speaks very much to my very long journey and career path. I've worked for over 40 plus years with people with different kinds of disabilities in different settings. Literally so long ago, some of you probably don't even know this was a thing. People used to be housed in hospitals and places. And so I worked with people coming into the community, and they were wonderful and they were elders. And I always thought, oh, if I could get them a little younger. And then I worked in the schools and 0 to 21 and for many, many years. And I think if I could only go back one more step. And when I think about how do we go back one more step, I think about the families, the parents, the moms, the dads, our colleagues, the professionals, and taking care of our community of caregivers so that we can be so present and our very best and continue to live our fullest life journey with the family that we have.
Yeah, it's so important to be able to focus on how to be your best version of yourself too. And this month for our podcast, for everything that we're putting out to our families, we're really trying to focus on care before the cure. Our families are waiting very patiently for a treatment or a cure for Jordan syndrome, and in the meantime, it weighs heavily. Every day is a journey, and so we're really trying to bring some awareness to self-care, some awareness to taking a moment to breathe. Many of our families have, and Carol, you can, testify to this also. When you get that diagnosis, when you are going through the motions of the shock and the grief and the, okay, now what do we do? It's a lot. And Carol, you've talked about this before too, and what you and your family went through in that.
Yeah, I mean, when we got diagnosed 8 years ago, there was nothing out there for us, and I remember my husband and I sitting on the floor in our living room and we're like, what does that mean? What do we do now? And that moment comes back, as different things throughout, our daughter's life. And kind of you come back to this because it's something new, or you kind of relive an emotion or whatnot. So definitely that grief cycle keeps circling back. And we hear that from all our families as well.
Yeah. And Carla, that seems to be something that's natural, right?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, we know this really well. When we first hear the diagnosis, I bet everybody can recall that moment, those critical moments in our life, just and bring your heart right back to that place. And it sets in place a very protective mechanism that we do naturally, which is to grieve. Now that might sound odd, and some people might, bristle at that, because grieving, isn't that what we do when people pass? Well, actually, in this situation, the grief is letting go or losing the dream we might have had for our new baby or our 2-year-old or our 4-year-old when we finally get that first diagnosis. And sadly, what happens oftentimes in the professional world, which I know well, we say, well, here you go, and your little girl has Jordan syndrome. And so, by the way, this is what we know about that. And so we're going to get to work and just right away. And as parents, we sit there and we're stunned. And it's like everything else is gone. It's like talking heads out there telling us things. we're not picking it all up. And it's because our body, our spirit, our heart is doing what it needs to do best, which is helping us check out. It's like, this is too big. It's okay to check out. And then we go through the very, very familiar stages. We go through the periods of anxiety, we go through anger, we go through depression, we go through bargaining. Oh, please, if I only do this, will my child be able to have that? This is all a beautiful part of the process of us coming to take care of ourselves. And then there is no ending in this grief. I think Carol brings that up. It just keeps coming back. Every time you see the neighborhood kids get on that school bus, and maybe your child gets on a different school bus, I don't know, or how they get on the school bus, all of these things. And it brings us right back there. And yes, we do get into a period of acceptance. Okay, we know we've got this Jordan syndrome. We've got this great community. We're going to do this. We're going to work towards a cure. But in the meantime, this is exactly the reason why we need to do self-care, because the grief state is deep and it's personal, and it's hard to live through. I mean, there's little of grief is joyful, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of joy in raising our children, but the grief process, we have to go into it in order to get to a place where we can move towards meaning making. How do I make meaning of my sweet child with Jordan syndrome, or whatever rare condition or other condition they might have? So the grief process, I think it's not well understood unless you're a parent, and then we get it.
Right. Yeah, I think
there's a little tricky piece about grief, and I really want to share this.
Yes.
Men and women, and I know that's really gendered and it doesn't sound fair, but it tends to be in that way. And so if there's a mom and a dad in the family, we don't grieve at the same time in the same cycle. So when I'm in anxiety, running around, getting everybody to do diagnostics, and my husband's going, it's not that bad. Relax. It's okay. So he's still checking out. I'm here doing this. That's a really hard place to be. And so our supports, which is often each other as parents, we're often on a different page, very understandably so, but which it gives a bigger why into why we have to do some self-care and self-compassion and take care of ourselves so we can be there for our kids and our partners and our families.
Or be able to work through
number one.
Yeah. I think when we talk about self-care, I think that, at least when we hear from some of our moms, the comment is always, I don't have time to go get a massage. I don't have time to go and do something for myself. But it isn't always that. It's so much more than that. So can you define self-care for us, what that really looks like, and what that can be for our families?
So, well, first off, I'll just repeat the joke that we had. Every magazine tells, well, mom, you should take a bubble bath and, have a glass of wine. And Carol, I think it was you who said, I even fail at that.
I know.
Like, who's got the time for a bubble bath? Like, stop. So that's kind of like toxic advice, right?
Yeah.
We don't hear that. So for me, self-care are the things that we do as part of life to give ourselves some self-compassion. That's different, and it entails self-care. And the reason why, and if you're not convinced that you're worth it, then I want you to know that you have to do this for your children, and you have to do it for your partners as well, because you're the number one. And if you keep giving in a reactive mode, every time your child's sick, you lose some sleep. Every time you have another therapy and you were planning on watching that whatever Downton Abbey. A lot of people watch Downton Abbey. There's something about that that's comforting to people. Okay. But it's, therapies during the show, you give up Downton Abbey again. So we have to get out of reactivity, and we have to get into that mindful, self-aware, self-care, self-compassion. And there's some simple steps, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah. And I think let's touch on the why for this too. The why this is so important, because it's not, and Carol, I know that we've really tried to drill down on this for our families too, and saying, I think, Carla, that rings true, that you have to do it not just for you, but for everybody. But Carol, I know that we've talked about this so much, but that why, and as we wait for what comes next for all of these, our children collectively in this community, what's the why?
I recently heard this, it said like loving me is loving you. And it really resonated because, it sounds counterintuitive that my self-care, my reason why is still my children. Because when I'm a better version of myself, I'm a better version for them as well, and but that really, and the guilt, there's always that guilt, whether it's like through the grief process or when you're taking the time for yourself. And it's like just getting rid of that mom guilt, especially, right? That kind of hovers over our heads all the time.
Mm-hmm. Boy, Carol, you're so right about the guilt. And I think, even though it's not talked about enough, I think in the world of grief and loss, is guilt is a real part of this. What did I do? We can always go back. Did I do something when I was young to initiate this? Oh, was it, why did I not do this test or that test beforehand? I mean, guilt just hurts. It feels terrible and it's not helpful. And so I think with guilt, we need to just say, it must be really hard to sit with that. I understand that it's really hard to sit with that. And that's very real. And that's why we have to sit compassionately with those of us who have guilt. Who doesn't have guilt? But at the same time, do we reward ourselves for every time we did the right thing? Oh my goodness, thank goodness I went back to the pediatrician and said, I'm sorry, but I need more. Thank goodness that we were alert to this. Thank goodness that I did care for my body as well as I could have, because it could be so different. But guilt is hard. And I think we just have to acknowledge what's difficult. And we'll do a meditation today, sitting with difficult feelings, because guilt is one of them.
I think that's one of the biggest aspects of this is, and we try to say this for our families all the time, that there isn't always an answer for why. Why did something happen? Why is this what happened to my child? Why did this occur? That why sits. And there's not, I don't know about you, but I like to make sure that you can control things to a certain point, and you figure that, you can put it in that box and you know why it happened. But when you have these things occur and there's no real why, that's hard to sit with. It's hard to keep that.
It really is. I think that looking for the why is, it's brutal. It's really hard because so rarely do we have answers. Why did this genetic situation happen here and there? I don't know. And so we have to sit with that discomfort. And that's another reason, Christina, why self-compassion is so important, because we don't always have answers. And that is, we just have to sit with that and still move on and still move forward. There's some yoga moves. Actually, it's called grief yoga. And when we do the why, it's this, if I can show you, demonstrate. Why? And we just put our arms out and we feel that why? And we just release it. So we put it out because that's what we're asking for. And then we realize our hands are releasing. We release that why, and may a cure be found. May a cure be found. And may it be in our lifetimes.
Yes, soon. The sooner the better.
I was try.
I think that that's, an interesting point of there's something that you can do. There's an active strategy. And I know you have some other strategies for your own self-regulation and mantras for yourself to be able to move through some of this and use that as a form of self-care too. So can we touch on those also?
Yeah, we're going to touch on that right now, but I want to go back to the why, about why you need to take care of yourself, why we need to have self-compassion. So we are learning a lot in the field of, it comes from the field of trauma, but we're seeing it everywhere. We're using it all over the place in psychology, and it's called polyvagal theory. And the vagus nerve is the longest nerve in the body. It's a cranial nerve, and it goes from the brain down into the gut. And this nerve, think about how we hold our children right here to the heart, right? This is where we co-regulate. When I'm calm, my baby's calm. Well, eventually.
Yeah. Right.
When my baby's calm, I'm calm. We regulate on each other. And so if we're in a perpetual state of anxiety and of guilt, and of distress and of action, fight, flight, and that, sympathetic nervous system, it's very unhealthy. It's unhealthy for us. It's definitely unhealthy for our children because they will not regulate. And so now we're learning all these strategies to calm and cool our vagus nerve, which actually has the secondary effect of cooling the vagus nerve of our children, who often also are in fight or flight situations because things are harder. And it's like, and so we're helping them come into a world that's calm and regulated, and it's going to give them the staying power to do hard things, and they will. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I think that's it's also just so incredibly interesting, that connection between all of us and our children and how that sustains.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah. When people say, we're all connected, that we're moms here. We get that. The dads, they get it. The grandmas, the grandpas, we get it. We get it. We are connected.
So let's talk about those strategies. And
okay, let's talk about self-compassion.
Yeah.
I really want to name a person who I've learned a lot from. Her name is Kristen Neff, Neff. And she's a professor somewhere in Texas, I think. And Tara Brach, Brach. And if you want to Google both of these incredible women, they offer these different meditations. Kristen talks very specifically about self-compassion. And so I felt like I found a sister over the internet waves in seeing her work. So a lot of this comes from research, people who do the research too. She's also a mom. And that's important, right? Because don't tell me the research, tell me what the moms know. Right, so essentially, self-compassion, there's 3 steps that we want to look towards. The first is mindfulness. The second is self-kindness. And the third is understanding that we are all part of a common humanity. So what does this mean? Are we ready? Okay, we're going to give it a shot here. So mindfulness, very simply, is being aware and allowing. And we're going to do a very, very simple exercise. And it's called the breath, right? Well, we all breathe all the time. But when we're in a state of stress, our breath is the first to get dysregulated. Okay. So we're going to do a very calming breath, quick. And it's a very simple inhale, and it's a twice as long exhale. You see, you can do this in the car on your way to your therapy session for your child. So you don't have to get in the tub. You can start to self-regulate simply by the breath. And there's a magic number, and the magic number is 3. And you have to do 3 of the breaths. So if we want, we can all do it together. And I'll model the first one. Okay, should we give it a try? So it's simple, and we go in through the nose and out through the mouth. That's an important part, because if we go in through our mouth, we're actually hyperventilating. That is not self-care. Okay. So, all right, so we're going to go in through the nose and slow release through the mouth. Do it again. One more. As we breathe and we think about the inhale and the exhale, we become attuned to our experience. We're often in our minds, we're often in our bodies. How do I feel? What am I thinking about? What's my schedule say? When that gets overwhelming, I want you to just focus in on the breath and release. Anxiety and anger are released through the breath. Sadness is released through the tears. I tell the children I work with that there's chemicals that come out your tears that take some of the sadness away. It's actually true, but I'm not that kind of a scientist, so I can't tell you the chemical. And then I tell them that the breath takes our anxiety and our anger and it cools it down. Now, here's something to do for parents too, and we can do this in the car, right? I always figure, if you can't do what you can do in the grocery store, in the aisles of the grocery store to get enlightenment, then I don't want to know about it because life is busy, right? So here's something we can do with the breath, and I invite people when they're really in a difficult position, and it's to put voice to the exhale, because again, that vagus nerve is right here along this line. So you might go, oh. Should we try one?
Yeah.
Okay, let's give it a breath. Okay, so inhale. How'd that feel?
It's actually very cathartic.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And what a great thing to model for the children. That was really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And guess what? You're both now regulating. You're both supporting each other. How simple.
Yeah.
And so when we do the meditation, we're going to do a little bit of the breath. And so we have the why, and it's because it calms our nerves. It calms the amygdala in the brain, which is that kind of fight or flight, so all the emotions. So the next area is self-kindness. Think about how you treat the people you love, not just your child, but your siblings, your best friend. Now, can you imagine giving some of that love back? Can you imagine if you were your love? If you were your best friend? How would you talk to yourself when you're really in a tough state? Would you say, oh my God, I can't do this. Oh, you're just not getting it together. What are you talking about taking a bath? What are you talking about breathing? You got to get going. Oh man, you're always thinking about yourself. Why do you think you can't handle this? Of course you can. What's the big deal? At least your child's here. These are the things that we say to ourselves. It's not helpful. It's really harmful. So we become our worst enemies. So just for a moment, I want you to think of what might be something you might call yourself. You can call yourself by your name. You might use, like a pet phrase. There's this beautiful teacher. His name is Thich Nhat Hanh. He's a Buddhist monk. He passed recently, but it's like he's still here, right? And he would say, my beloved, I see your suffering and I am here. So now for a moment, just think to yourself and call yourself, my beloved, I see how hard this is. And I'm here for you. Yeah.
Taking care of yourself in the simplest way.
In the simplest way, just to realize how beloved you are. Yeah. Yeah. To the universe, to your child, to your family, to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's very simple. And there's a technique that goes with that, another physical thing. It's they do this also in yoga, but you don't have to. And so quite simply, take one hand as you breathe, and you don't have to do the deep breath. Just breathe regularly and put it on your belly for a moment, and breathe in and breathe out just naturally, the way you would. Try and focus. Can you feel your breath filling your belly? Can you feel your belly go down? Why do we touch our belly? Well, this is where the vagus nerve goes into the gut. And we're giving warmth to our belly. And the belly is also a place where a lot of the feel good neurotransmitters come from. Go figure. The serotonin and all those things that we take, the antidepressants, actually are from neurotransmitters in the belly. And so we're kind of comforting it, we're allowing it to be. And then you can take your other hand and put it on your heart. And you provide yourself that self-kindness. I'm here for you. I'm here for myself. And I can feel my heart, my chest cavity rise and fall with my breath. My heart, when I hold my loved child, I hold them here. The heart. And bring yourself there and comfort your heart. You can do that while your child is having therapy. You might be watching and go, this is really hard. Are they going to get it? Are they going to meet that goal? It's hard. And I'm here. And the final practice of self-compassion is reminding ourselves that we are part of a common humanity, and that hard things and pain and suffering is part of the human condition. Now, I don't want to demean anybody's pain in this way. We all have different degrees, right? I have to tell you, I love your Mama Bear blog. I did read them. So if New Jersey Mama Bear, if you're there, keep going, because her journaling, her sharing brings out this, oh yeah, I get that too.
Yep.
Yeah. And we feel part of a community. And look at what you have developed with the Jordan syndrome community. Oh my goodness. That is so beautiful. And years ago, when I worked very specifically with children with rare conditions and families, we didn't have this. That's how old I am again, right? But we did not have it. So we formed community with each other. And that was really good. But this is like, you guys are next level. And it's really beautiful. And so when on your website, when the families say, we are rare, the little sister says, I'm my sister, I'm a rare sister, something like incredible like that. You're going, wow, common humanity. We are all part of a community, and we're not going through this alone. Yeah, sometimes there's nothing like the darkness of the soul, and we just feel like, I can't do this by myself. And so we reach out. So thank you for providing this community of care.
It's incredible. And to watch these families come together and to see, I mean, especially when we can be together in person, you see, especially the kids, it's like they just know that they're with their people. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
A sense of ours, just that very close-knit community and knowing that we're not alone.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's really beautiful.
it is beautiful. It's like coming home,
Hmm.
just the shoulders come down and um, you feel held.
Hmm.
You feel held. And so as we practice self-care, we can feel that connectedness coming to us and we can share it out. And uh, you'll have to have me come back another time. We'll talk about this loving kindness meditation, which is a
Yes.
way of sharing community. So I would love to
Yes.
do some of these with you. But how are we doing on time?
We're good, Carla. You can just keep going because I think that this is so helpful for our families to have. These are tangible takeaways that they can do these things, in their in at any point in time, whenever the time arises. And I think we talked about maybe the 3-minute meditation and trying to do that for our families too. And um I think there's so much that we can talk about over the course of many of these, and hopefully bring these to our families and on a regular basis so that they can feel that there's so much to be talked about too, and so much to be done on a simple basis.
Oh,
And
it
uh,
has to be easy, doesn't it?
Yes.
oh,
Because,
absolutely. Has to fit in. Like we have our support groups, whether it's regional groups or the moms groups or the dads groups, and the kindest things are being said to support each other with whatever is thrown out there. But focusing a little bit of that kindness towards ourselves, like what a simple concept, but kind of getting rid of all that, like turning that self-talk into self-love. And it's I hope our families, if nothing else, they take that away from our time with you today, because it's so needed. We're also like our like worst critic, but at the same time we like deal with everyone else with so much kindness because we get what they're going through. And it's just so simple, but yeah, so hard to do sometimes.
I think it is hard to do. I think parenting in general, we feel judged and, people look at us and we're supposed to this and we're supposed to that. And all of these things that make life feel so hard
Hmm.
and unauthentic. And we kind of lose ourselves in this because it's like every act feels like, well, I'm doing this because as if people are watching us. And if this was our best friend, we would say, "You're beautiful the way you are.
Hmm.
It's going to be okay, even if it's not easy. This is what it is, and I trust in you, and you do it your way." You know, permission. Give ourselves permission.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you're up for it, let's try this little
Yes.
meditation, and it's everything that we just talked about, and it's very simple. And so, if it's possible, I'm not sure where everybody's sitting while you're listening. I would say that if you're driving the car, maybe don't.
Pull
Okay.
over.
Well, yeah, pull over because sometimes we can really get in, and I want you to, but we have to focus on all these people texting and driving,
Yeah.
or our own texting and driving, whatever. Um, but you can do this anywhere, really. And so to begin with, if you could just and so this meditation is called For Those Who Care. Okay, so if you could find a comfortable place to sit, you don't have to move to anything special. Be aware of your feet. Are they on the ground? If they are, that's good. Okay? It doesn't matter if you have shoes or not, on the ground. And if your feet are up on the couch, keep in mind that that couch is still sitting on a ground, and that's okay. All right, just be comfortable. Hold your back into an awareness that it's holding you up. You don't have to, have the string up, but our spine is our strength. And so let's just be aware of our feet. Let's be aware of our spine, that it holds us. So for this mindfulness meditation, we need to call up something that is a little difficult. I don't want you to pick an overwhelming feeling of difficult right now. Something perhaps moderately difficult, something a little painful, uncomfortable. Not too much, just enough to allow you to engage in this and feel what it's like to care for yourself. Maybe you're feeling a little stressed or worried. Maybe there's some difficult moment coming up. Just be aware of it. Does it look like something? Is there a picture in your mind? What does it make you feel? Do you feel numb, sad, angry, worried? So as you get in touch with this difficult situation, we're going to try our three strategies, 3 steps of self-compassion. And it will prepare us to use self-compassion when we need it most. So to begin with, let's start with our mindful breath. As we hold this difficult moment in our mind, I don't want you to get carried away thinking about it and strategizing about it and planning it. We are going to breathe 3 times, and we're going to allow that difficult situation to simply be present. So we'll take our first breath in through the nose and exhale. Have some awareness of the breath as it comes in your nostrils and passes through your lips. Let's do this again. As we just focus on the breath and this tough situation, this pain, we might say to ourselves, this is suffering. This is painful. This is really hard right now. And I'm really struggling. We're not going to walk away from the feeling. We're going to allow it to happen. We're going to go towards it with the breath. What we're doing is we're actually going to witness what this looks like, what this feels like, because it's real. And we'll be curious, what is this? We might name it. This is really hard. This is painful. This is suffering. So as we continue to breathe, I want you to put that hand on your belly. While you're still recognizing this difficult situation, you might put both hands on your belly, whatever feels right to you. Feel the breath come in and the breath release. I invite you to put your other hand on your heart if you might. And if it releases tears, that's okay. It washes yourself. Let's talk to ourselves, to our pain. My beloved, I see this is really hard. My dear, I'm holding you. You might say your name. I've got you. And as we sit on the edge of ourselves, let's touch the people who are part of our communities, who too know this pain or have their own pain. And we know that life can be difficult. It is part of being alive in our world, to have tough times, to not know the answers. And we offer our community love, trust. We witness their pain. And we feel, too, the love they share with us. Because when someone reaches to us, we receive this gift. And there's nothing to say. But perhaps, thank you for being here. We'll just sit with this for a moment. And whenever you feel so moved, you might move your body, open your eyes, and remember that you're here in this loving community. Thank you.
Thank
you for
you.
doing that. Yeah.
Thank you. I hope this is one of those podcasts that our families can bookmark and return to on a regular basis to be able to work through this and use it as a tool.
Yeah. It's simple in a way, and it's profound and deep in others. And
It's really beautiful.
yeah, if it provides some comfort, I would be so honored and touched. And there's some really beautiful meditations out there, and that's a form of self-compassion.
Yeah. Carla, thank you. I mean, I cannot thank you enough for what you just provided for our community, people around the world. It was really beautiful and a very tangible way of giving ourselves a hug. It just really is. It's so much more than that, but it's taking care of ourselves in the right way too. So, thank you for spending some time with us, and Carol, thank you for sharing and taking part in that. I feel like I can go and face the rest of the day too.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Carla. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your experience. I mean, your passion came through when
Oh.
we talked the other night, and I had to share it with our community. So thank you for being willing to do that, and hopefully we'll see you again.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. What a gift. What a gift. This really brought joy to my day.
Good. And art to us too. For our families out there who are listening or watching, Your website is carlafriedliphd.com. I will have it in the notes for the podcast so that everyone can reach out there. And I hope that this is not the last time we have us all together. I would love to do this more often, because I think that this is just so beautiful for our community. So, Carla, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. For those of you who are out there listening and want to hear some of our other podcasts, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, Google, on our website, jordansguardianangels.org, where you can watch the video, and also on YouTube for translation services for our families all around the world. Thanks again for taking a few minutes to be with us today. Hope you guys got so much out of that. I know that I did, and Carol, your smile says it all. So thank you, Carla. Thank you, Carol. And we'll see everyone really soon.